Hello, I'm Mariana King, and this is where the Sidework ends. Today I'll show you how to make a heart Beet Wellington, a vegetarian entree that's ideal for Valentine's Day, because nothing says I love you quite so well as fresh baked puff pastry. It's an epic dish, so let's get started. For the pastry, you need 1 2/3 cups of all-purpose flour mixed with a teaspoon of salt and a tablespoon of sugar, 2 sticks of cold butter cut in 1/2-inch cubes, and a 1/2 cup of ice-cold water. So combine the sugar, salt, and flour together, then add the chunks of butter. You'll toss these in the flour to coat, and then grab each chunk of butter and squish it with your thumb till it's flat. Mix it together till it's combined. Then add your water a little bit at a time to start, and then start to bring the dough together. Mix it until the sides of the bowl are clear, and once it starts to come together, you can knead it a little bit against the sides of the bowl just to sort of bring it into a cohesive mass. Once the dough comes together, you'll wrap it in plastic and chill it in the freezer for about 30 minutes. Once it's been chilled, you want to lay it on a floured surface, flour your rolling pin, and you're going to roll it into about 1/4 inch thickness. It'll be about 15, maybe 20 inches long, maybe 8 to 10 inches wide. Once it's rolled out nice and flat, you want to start your folds. So bring the top of take the shorter end from the top, fold it into the center, and then do the same with the bottom edge. It's okay if it overlaps a little bit on this first one. Then bring the top down again, so you have a sort of thick book. Give this 1/4 turn and roll out again until it's about 1/4 inch thick again. Try to keep your edges nice and even. If you have to touch up a side or two, that's fine. Then do the same fold again into a nice book, and then chill this in the fridge for an hour while we move on to the beets. You want to take a bunch of beets with the greens, chop the greens and the stems off and reserve. Place on a foil-lined baking sheet. Season with salt and pepper. Cover with another sheet of foil. Crimp it all around and roast in a 400-degree oven for 40 to 50 minutes until a knife slides easily through to the center of the beets and they are cooked through. When the beets are cooked, you'll place them to the side until cool enough to handle, then rub the skins off with a paper towel. While the beets are roasting, cut the greens off of the stems and rinse. Prepare a large boiling pot of salted water and place a large bowl of ice water beside it. You're going to blanch the greens for about 30 seconds in the boiling water and then shock them in the ice water to stop the cooking. Then drain the greens and reserve them for the assembly phase. We're getting ever closer every second. Just a few more components in the meantime. It can't be a true Wellington without mushroom duxelle, and that's our next step. For the mushroom duxelle, you need 1/2 pound or about 2 cups of mushrooms finely minced, 2 tablespoons of minced shallots, and 1/4 cup of Madeira or stock, or you could use both. You want to take the minced mushrooms and place them in cheesecloth or a tea towel or a coffee filter, whatever you have on hand that will allow you to squeeze the living daylights out of these mushrooms. They look pretty dry now, but you'd be amazed at how much water comes out when you give them a good squeeze. And this juice you can reserve, you can put it in the freezer and add it to a vegetable stock that you make later. In a large skillet over medium-high heat, melt a tablespoon of butter in a tablespoon of olive oil, add the mushrooms and the shallots and saute until dry. Next, add the Madeira or stock or both, cook until the liquid evaporates, and set the duxelle aside away from the heat. And now we're on to assembly. We'll begin by preparing the beets. After you've rubbed the skins off with a paper towel and the beets are cool enough to handle, you'll take a small sharp knife and cut a diagonal sort of circle in the flat part of the beet top. This is what will make your heart shape. Next, retrieve your drained beet greens and dry them thoroughly with paper towels. Then, carefully wrap each beet with beet greens, covering the entire beet area. This is what will keep the red beet juice from bleeding into your pastry and makes that really nice reveal. Set the wrapped beets aside and retrieve your puff pastry. Cut out some rounds that are a little bit larger than each beet and retrieve your duxelle. Place a tablespoon of duxelle in the center of your pastry. Make a well in the center and place the tip of the beet in the well so it stands up straight. Crust the beet with more duxelle until it's covered, then fold the pastry around the beet, top with another pastry round, and press to seal. Wash the whole Wellington with egg wash, and then with a sharp knife, slash a crosshatch pattern in the top, taking care not to cut all the way through the pastry except for one X in the very center to allow steam to escape. Bake on a parchment-lined sheet in a 400-degree oven for 20 minutes, then decrease the heat to 350 and bake for another 20 minutes until the Wellington is puffed and deeply browned. If it starts to get too dark, just cover the top with foil while you finish cooking. And now you're ready to serve an impressive vegetarian entree. With the luscious puff pastry and the savory mushroom duxelle, I think this satisfies even a carnivore. Make sure when you serve that you instruct your guests to slice down the center so the heart shape is revealed. And keep in mind, the pastry, the beets, and the mushroom duxelle can all be prepared a day or two in advance. Then you can assemble the Wellington just before you cook it on the big day. I like to serve this on a bed of whipped goat cheese, just 8 ounces of goat cheese, whipped with a couple of tablespoons of milk until fluffy. Let me know if you give this recipe a try. I hope you enjoy it as much as I do. And I'll see you again next time, where the side work ends.